Hey, this is John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneurs on Fire, and you are listening to the Social Media Talks podcast with Alan Hennessy from Compass Media. This is the podcast to help business owners who want to learn more about digital and social media marketing. You are prepared to ignite.
Before we begin this episode, we'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors and also our supporters. The Social Media Talks podcast is sponsored by Content Cal, creating a solution to simplify and speed up how teams can plan, collaborate on, approve, publish and analyze social media content in a familiar and intuitive calendar interface. In just 3 years, they have been trusted by over 10,000 businesses and agencies in 110 countries to deliver social media content at scale and have recently won an award for the Content Management Tool of the Year. For more information on Content Cal, visit their website at contentcal.io. We would also like to remind you the Social Media Talks podcast is proudly supported by charityradio.ie, one of Ireland's leading online radio stations supporting charities across Ireland for free. And now, this week's episode.
Welcome to Social Media Talks podcasts, brought to you by compassmedia.ie.
Hello and thank you for joining me. This is the Social Media Talks podcast, brought to you by compassmedia.ie, episode number 74, and a slightly stranger one today. Today we are going to do a solo podcast, the first in a series of these podcasts, where it's just going to be me talking to you, as opposed to us having a guest on the podcast. This, as I said, is going to be a number of different shows where we're going to be talking about different aspects of social and digital marketing. And today we're going to be talking all about 7 triggers and 7 ways that you can get people to share your content a little bit more. And also we're going to be talking about hashtags and what they are and how they can be best used. So I do hope you can stay with me. And don't forget, if you do want to listen to any of our previous podcasts, you can log on to our website at compassmedia.ie/podcasts. You can also find all the show notes as well for all of these shows available on the website as well. So without further ado, I think we will dig into our chosen topic today, and looking forward to speaking to you. And as I said, this is going to be one of those podcasts where we are going to be talking about a number of different things, and it's a series of them. So let us get started. Okay, so 7 types of content that can help you help people who want to share your content out a lot more. Okay, so as we all know, it is hard to get your content seen on social media over the last few years, especially with regards to the way the algorithms have changed on all of the different platforms. So, let's try and make it easier for yourself. More so than anything, I think it's about creating engagement with your content as well. That is probably key to what happens on social media, and obviously with the your engagement becomes you become a little bit more prominent in the eyes of the Facebooks and the Googles and the the Twitters and the LinkedIns and stuff like that. That's where they see, if they see more engagement, you're going to see more return as well for your content. And the other side of that is, again, if you are creating good content, you want your customers, or you want your followers, or whoever it may be, to see that content and get value from it. And I think they are the key important issues here when we look at content. It is the three pillars is to entertain, inform, and also to educate as well people. So I think with that in mind, I think you really need to start thinking about what type of content would it be that you would enjoy reading. Remember that if you enjoy reading it and you think that your audience would get enjoyment from reading it or would get some value from reading it, that is a key important factor. So always have that at the front of your mind when you're starting to create this content. And I suppose look as well for the information gaps, to spark off a bit of curiosity for people. Like, what is it that is going to entice people in? So my suggestions to you would be is to preview something. So if you're, for instance, going to do a live video or something on Facebook, make sure that you go on maybe the day before or something like that, and announce that you're going to be doing a live video, or you're going to pre-promote it, I suppose, in a sense. So the idea behind it is getting on and letting people know what it is that you're going to be talking about, and what it is that you are going to actually, give them. What will they walk away with? Because at the end of the day, if people are going to give you their time, you need to let them know what they're going to get. Very, very important. It's the same with regards to if you're going to be writing a blog post, and the blog post is going to be on your website or something like that. Maybe go in and do a small, short snippet of it. You can even do a live video for it. But ideally is to go in and give it a short snippet. So maybe the first 2 or 3 paragraphs of that particular piece of content. And then what you do at the end of it is if you want to read the full article, please visit our website, because at the end of the day, social media is there to be social. You're there to help people to understand. And the idea is that you bring them down a sales funnel, which will bring them to your website. And we'll be talking about sales funnels in another episode of the podcast as well, and how we can guide people through that process as well. But I think the key important part is step 1 would be definitely to preview something. So let it preview a piece of content that people are going to be able to find it. Also, step 2, give them a solution, okay? The solution to their problem. So if, for instance, we're going to talk about LinkedIn, and we're going to be talking about, say, LinkedIn profiles, we have to give them a solution. So find out what their pain is, and then what you do is then you actually give them the answer to it. So that solution is the key to it. I.e., if, for instance, you're looking at, say, social media, and you want to say to the people, let's say we could say to them, are you looking at other people's profiles on LinkedIn, and do you find them that they are fantastic and would love to have your profile all working to its fullest capacity? And that's giving them the idea of saying, yes, I would like it. Well, if you read this particular blog, or you read this particular, or you watch this particular video, this is going to help you with that. You're giving them the solution. Remember, you're adding value constantly, and it's about adding value to everyone's life, whether they be in business or whether it be personal. Give them something that's going to resonate with them and that's going to help them. So giving them a solution can be key important. Then the next step is to create that memorable content. And when you're doing that, you might say to yourself, oh, well, how do I create memorable content? Well, very, very easily. If you know your business or your subject matter, you know exactly what it is that people are talking about within that sphere. Okay. The other thing that I would suggest there is to look at the opinions and look at what people are doing online. Look at what is important within this industry. You know what I mean? So what is the popular belief? What is, the options? What options are people looking for? The topic the topics in your industry to write about. Find out, look at it. You can research this on Google. You know what I mean? A lot of people will go to social media first and they say, oh, I'm trying to find content that I can write about. If you type into Google a search query, even a long form search query. So how do I fix my drains at home? Okay, if you type that in, it's going to come back with a huge amount of content that you can look at, and you can say, okay, well, these are the top 10 searches for this when you put in these keywords. Okay, when you put them keywords in, look at the top 10 search results, and then from that, then you can start collecting data and you can start understanding exactly what it is that people are searching for. And then you can start writing your content for that. Okay. The next piece would be is to maybe put your own spin on it. Okay. Don't copy someone. It's just not on, because people automatically would see it, and it's you're going to be seeing that, and once someone sees that, they're going to you're going to lose that credibility. So the idea behind it is to find the content and then write your own spin on it. How would you deal with it? And you know what you could always do, and here's a very, very good idea, and we've done it many a time, is to flip it, turn it on its head. talk about it in a different way. Talk about the negatives in it and then show the positives in it and flip it on its head. Turn the whole idea upside down and change it around. Because when you do that is because what it'll do is it'll help you. It'll say, well, I love reading their articles because they do X, Y, and Z. They change it the way I think, or they flip it on the head. They come at it from a different angle. And that's where you're going to create engagement. If people are seeing that and they're constantly, waiting for your next piece of content to come out, it's going to help you hugely when it comes to that. As I said, when you look at it, check Google to make sure your idea is, I suppose, it's not been covered in a million times before. But if it has, think about, as I said, how you can change that up, how you can, break it out from the norm. So if it's sort of like, most people are giving you a list of a check sheet of 5 top tips. Well, why not change it and say, these are the top 5 tips, and then go into them now in a bit more detail throughout your content. And then, of course, the other side of that is to back up that piece of content and, with credible data. So if you have 60% of Irish people use social media for X, Y, and Z, make sure that you have some data to back that up. So i.e. if it's, from an agency or from a particular, a post that you may have seen, or a piece of content, or whatever it may be, or an ebook, or something that you have read, or you've read also say maybe a book that has referenced this in the book. Make sure you reference that book. So that idea is that, it's credible, but it's also, you can also show that it's where it's come from as well. And then the other great thing is maybe even do a survey. If you're looking for content and you're trying to find out what it is, and we've often done it, we go on social media and say, what is it that you want to find out more about social media? And people will come back and they will tell us what it is. So ask the questions, ask your audience what it is that they want to know or they want to learn about. Because by doing that, what you're doing is you're adding value. Also, you are creating something there that people need. And when people need it, they will read it. And if they read it, they will enjoy it. And then hopefully they will get in contact with you to find out a little bit more and understand how you can help them. Okay. Maybe even use some case studies. Look at case studies of, previous people that you've worked with or previous businesses that you've worked with. And maybe think about, doing a case study and showing them, and contact the person who you've done the case study with. Or even if you've seen one online that you found very interesting, use it. Like if you look at the type of, say, when Gillette done the ad for the bullying, okay, what they done was they touched on a point. They touched on a very, very poignant point of bullying, male and the way the males are looked at. So what they done was they touched on a very, very sensitive issue, but they spun it in such a way that got them a huge amount of exposure from one piece of content. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go and you have to do something like that, but think about it. If you look at the concept of the marketing of how they did that, that was absolutely ingenious, because what it done was it created a load of content where people were either talking about it, were giving out about it, or they were saying that it was a great piece of content, it was a great ad. But what it done was it increased their visibility online. So from a marketing point of view, it worked so well. Okay, and then we move on. As you say, you found your piece of content now, or you found your particular subject that you're going to talk about. Now what we need to do is you need to start thinking about your imagery, okay, and your graphics, okay. Always a part that lets people down is not having the right graphics, not having, or having graphics that they've just taken from Google, and it just doesn't work. There is a huge amount of stock photographs out there that you can use for your content. But what I would say is if you have the opportunity, and I mean this, if you have the opportunity to take your own photographs, it is 1,000 times better. where, as I always say when I'm talking at any conference or any presentation that I'm doing, I always say, the girl on the contact page on a website, she works for about 5,000 or 6,000 different companies, because everyone uses that exact same girl with the headset on her and that has the big smiley face, because it's a contact, and it's an easy option, guys. It's an easy option. The idea behind it is if you are looking for if you were going to put out a piece of content and it's yours, take that photograph, whether that be a picture of you and saying this is what I think, even if it's a picture of you writing a blog post, just at your desk and writing a blog post, people will resonate with that because it becomes a lot more personal. Plus as well, if you're, as you say, we can use stock images, and there is a number of websites out there that you can find it. If you type in, royalty free images, you'll find them. It'll come up on Google. There's a number of them, Pixabay and, Stock Snap and stuff like that. There's a huge amount of different stock photograph websites as well out there. Okay, and then think about your colors and keep them to a minimum. Don't have 101 different colors on your blog post or on your on the part of on whatever it is you may be writing. Think about the colors, keep them to a minimum, whether that be your company colors, if they are, say, red and black, or if they're blue and black or whatever. But write the content that is of importance. Make sure that is in black. Okay, don't write it in grey, because grey doesn't resonate. Grey just doesn't. What happens is the actual your mind and your brain can't process that, whereas in black they expect that, and that's what it should be. So it's a very, very important part to making sure that you keep your colours that are to a minimum. Okay, so maybe 2 colours at the most, and maybe if you're going to highlight something, highlight it in red or something like that, or bold it or whatever it may be. And another very important part is to making sure that if someone is reading this piece of content, so we'll talk about a blog, for instance, make sure that it is scannable. When I say scannable, that is like I often go on to a website or I go on to a blog post and I will scan through it. So I will quickly go down through it. I won't read the whole thing, but I'll sort of scan through and say, okay, that's good. If it's too long, I'll go, I don't know. Try and keep it within 1,500 words or so. The other thing that I would say there is to make it, as I say, it's scannable. So, when people are actually looking at this, that they can scan it quickly, and there's headlines or stuff like that. You can make them, the bold statements or whatever. But make sure that it's something that will grab someone's attention, i.e. putting graphics in the middle of your content, in the middle of this particular blog post. Very, very important. Nobody wants to just read a whole, unless it's an actual industry-led paper or something like that you need to do that. But if you're going to make it for social media, or you're going to make it for your website, make it more appealing. That when you put a picture or you put a graphic in the center of your actual text, between your paragraphs, it breaks it up. And then also it gives the person that's reading it a little chance to relax and take the time to read the rest, because they're looking at the picture and then they start reading the next line underneath. So quite important to break up your content there as much as anything else. You don't necessarily have to write it as a Word format. You can do a number of different options when it comes to writing content. You can have worksheets, maybe having a worksheet as in saying, okay guys, well, if you do X, Y and Z, if you give them a worksheet and say download this worksheet, and this will help you to create your profile on Twitter or on Facebook or on social media, whatever it may be. That could be a good one. A step-by-step guide. So guiding them through is always a great way. So I find that when we create ebooks and stuff like that, what we would always do is we would use them as a lead magnet. And when I say a lead magnet, the meaning that is that, we have something that we can give our customers or our followers for nothing, that they're going to want to come to our website to download it. And then when they do get that, we're going back to, as I said, the start of it, where you're previewing something, you're also showing them then how easy it is to actually to get it by just popping an email in, which also builds your email list as well. And that is, yet again, we're going to be talking about that in a different podcast as well. Check sheets are very good. Check sheets don't have to be very, very intuitive. They could be 10 things that you must do before you start using Twitter. Okay, and you can have a check sheet and get them to download it, and they can just check it off and use it for themselves as well. There's a lot of free online tools out there that you can use to create these pieces of content as well, and making sure that the steps are easy to follow and that people can complete them in a short space of time, whether that be 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but making sure that they can complete them in a short amount of time. Okay, and then I suppose the other side of that is if we got to remember that, you know, if we're going to be using this content, reach out to people that you know on social media, maybe influencers that are in your area, and ask them to give you a little bit of a push with it. You know, any chance of you giving this, sharing this with your community is always a good one. And then even if you are writing content, maybe even keep it in mind to include an influencer in it, or if you're, you know, including a company in it, make sure that you mention them and highlighted them in the piece of content. And then when you actually go to post it, you can tag these people in it, which will give you further reach. You know, it's really, really important. Also, you could, on the other hand, you can maybe email them. If you write a piece about a particular company or a particular individual, you can email them, say, look, I wrote this piece of content about whatever it may be, say it's LinkedIn or something like that. You can actually turn around and you can say, right, okay, I mentioned you in this as a reference point of something that you've said, or a piece that you wrote on it, and let them know that you have mentioned them. Because what it does is, if someone sees their name in lights, as they say, they are going to share your content out as well. So it gives you more reach and it gives you more exposure for that piece of content. So you see the way it's all starting to come together? It's really, really important to know and to tag people in posts. I talked to a girl at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about how she uses Twitter, and she was saying that she was getting a lot of response from Twitter, and simply because she is tagging people into her content. So when you start tagging people start to see it, and then it gathers steam. They start seeing your profile, and when they start seeing your profile, they start following you, and when you start following you, it just escalates. So it's a process where you have to keep going down that road. And then let's talk about the length of your content. If you are writing a post on social media, and I've seen it before, especially on Facebook, where someone will go in and they'll type maybe 500 or 600 words on a post on social media, on, say, Facebook, okay? It does work if you have a lot of information, but most people are on social media. They're flicking, they're scrolling through their feed. They are not going to read a full blog post within a post on social media. So what you need to do, and that's where I suppose Twitter, you look at Twitter the way it's only 240 characters, you have to send them somewhere else, or you have to get your message across within 240 characters. Ideally, you should be directing people to your website. So if you're writing a post on Facebook, make it short and make it snappy. Okay, get your message across very, very quickly, because that's what people want. They want to be able to understand it very quickly, and if they don't, they lose concentration. They don't want to particularly, they'll just move onwards until such time as they find something. And that's how most of the content you'll see, they always have big bold letters at the top, or their headline is something that is going to grab someone's attention and drag them in and get them to read more about it. Do the research, look at it online. If you look at most of the social media content, especially from the bigger companies, you'll see exactly that's what they're doing, okay? And then if you are going to write long form content, write it, as I said, on a blog post. And if you don't have your own website, and you might say to yourself, oh, well, where am I going to write it? On Facebook, there is a thing called Notes, where you can actually create a blog post. It's I suppose it's Facebook's version of blog posts. It's called Notes, and it's available to everyone who has a business account on Facebook. Very easy. If you don't know where it is and you can't see it on your sidebar, all you have to do is go into your settings, and I think it's in Pages, and you can click into it and it'll show you up, add additional tabs, and then it'll come up with Notes, and then literally when you click on Notes, it'll put it onto your side tab, click into it, and you can create these fantastic pieces of content within there, which is like a long form blog post, or you can have them as drafts, and then when you're ready you can publish them. You don't have to write it and press post immediately. You can actually save the edit, and then you can go back in and you can change it and you can edit it at a later stage. Or if you want to write 5 or 6 of these and you have that type of content, write them and then keep them as drafts until such time as you want to publish them. So it's a very good way. Also, you can do this on LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn have the facilities of the publisher, which automatically, when you create something on Publisher in LinkedIn, it automatically updates on your own profile. So it gives you more content, and it shows your credibility, and it shows your authority, and it also shows that you're writing content on a regular basis. So think about that. If you don't have a website, there are 2 options, and there's of course the blog sites that you can go on to, medium.com, where you can actually set up your own blog page and you can get yourself followers and stuff like that. And it's a very good website to go on and find out a lot of content. You can do a lot of research on that as well. So, there's a lot there that you can actually do. Try, when you're writing content, or if you're writing a blog post, to keep it, I suppose, at just under 1,500 words. Okay, don't try and go over that unless you're going to. If you want to write more than that, I would suggest you to sit down and write a book. Simple as that. Okay, and then of course the main thing and the one important thing at the end of every piece of content should be your call to action. Very, very important. Your call to action is what's going to help people to reach out to you. It's asking your reader to do something. Okay, it's asking them to do something, whether that may be to share your content, or to leave a comment, or to go to your website to download an ebook or a form or whatever it may be, or a giveaway or special offer that you're going to do. It gives you that opportunity to give them a call to action. And by even the simplest of things of saying, please share this post, people will share it when they've read it and they've enjoyed it, and they'll want to share it with their community. Also, asking them to leave a comment will bring your engagement levels up on, say, the types of, say, Facebook, because when they see engagement on a post, what they do is they bump it up. So always have these options and these ideas in mind as well. Okay, so that is sort of how you can get people to share your content out. And remember, guys, also remember that using hashtags within your content on social media, especially on the types of all of the platforms actually, from Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest, whatever it is, using hashtags will give you more visibility. It'll give you opportunities for you to be included in conversations, included in these hashtag searches as well. So keeping in mind that's what you're doing. Jump on to the big hashtags that are out there, try and use them, and also use 1 or 2 of your own that resonate with the article or the piece that you're writing as well. So if, for instance, we're doing something on family safety, for instance, we might put in the hashtag family safety, but we'll also put in safety, we'll also put in family and stuff like that. So it adds to that hashtag, and that anyone who's searching for family safety will come across your piece of content. And that works across all of the platforms, from Facebook, LinkedIn, and even on the types of, say, LinkedIn, it will give you suggestions as to what actual hashtags you can use. So do think about that, and hopefully this podcast has been a bit of a help to you. You've got some information out of it, and we will be back next week with another episode of a solo podcast with myself. It feels quite strange here to be doing a solo podcast as we usually do the interview base, but we haven't forgotten them. We haven't discarded them. What we are doing is we're just going to do a number of these solo podcasts over the next few weeks, just to give you an insight into different ways that you can share your content, create your content, and a number of questions that we've been asked over the last few weeks. So as I said, guys, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and hopefully you'll join us next week for our second in the series of solo podcasts. And don't forget, if you want to find out more about the podcasts that we have, you can actually jump onto our website at www.compassmedia.ie. And also, if you would like to join us on the podcast and you would like us to talk to you on the podcast, you can get in contact with us. All you have to do is email us at smtalks@compassmedia.ie, and we will be delighted to have you on the programme. All right, so on next week at the same time, my name is Alan Hennessy for the Social Media Talks podcast, and until next week at the same time, have a great week, and as I always say, be social. Until next week, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Social Media Talks podcast is a production from compassmedia.ie.